Most people think that buying a home is just about having a place to live. But what if I told you that by owning my first home, it made me over $70,000 and turned into passive income? And I didn't do anything crazy to get there. So let's talk about it. So before we talk about how to buy a home, I want to talk about why, because that's the most important part that most people miss. Hi, my name is Leslie Hall, and I am a realtor here in Southern Indiana, and I'm part of the Dream Team Realtors brokered by Diamond Key Realtors, and me and my team help buy, sell, and invest in Southern Indiana and Louisville, Kentucky. Let me ask you something. What would you do with an extra $500 a month? What about $1,000? Because that's exactly what real estate can start to look like when you understand how it works. I want you guys to remember this word, home equity. So home equity is the difference between what your home is worth and what you owe on a home. So over time, your home goes up in value and your loan balance will go down. And that gap that's in the middle of those two numbers, that's your equity. So I want to break this down really simple for you guys. So I'm going to share my own personal story about my home buying journey and why I got started in real estate to begin with. So in 2020, I actually bought my first home for $184,000, and that was in Jeffersonville, Indiana. Now, when I bought my home, I already had a goal in mind that I wanted to buy something that needed updating that I can work on and fix up, and I was going to sell in 2 to 3 years and start my real estate journey from there. So the home that I bought, it had blue carpet, it had brown cabinets, so it needed some love. That's exactly what I did. So I lived in the home for 2.5 years. I made sure that I did the updates that were going to give me the best ROI. ROI is your return on investment. So the money that you make from your investment. So the things like bathrooms, kitchen, flooring, paint, landscape, those are all really great improvements to do to a home that will actually cause forced appreciation. So forced appreciation is when you update your home and you force that home's value to increase by doing those updates. So I bought my home for $184,000 and my down payment was 3%, and I did a conventional loan. Of course, there's a million loan options and programs to do, but my down payment was a little bit over $5,000. So I was in my home with a little bit over $5,000, and I did the updates towards the end of that 2 years. I took something out called a HELOC. That's a home equity line of credit. So after you live in a home for a little bit of time, your home starts to build equity. So you can use that cash, you can pull it from your home and you can liquidate that cash, and you can use it for things like home improvements or other items that you want to use it for. But I specifically used my HELOC to finish up some of the projects I wanted to do on my home. So after I was finished completing the projects, I decided to actually rent my home out. So the market price in Jeffersonville, Indiana at the time for my home was about $2,100. And my mortgage at the time was a little bit over $1,000. So each month I was making $1,100 a month in rental income. Now, I'll be honest, landlording is not for everyone. So I didn't thoroughly enjoy it. So I decided to keep it rented, but I ultimately sold my home to an investor with the tenant still in it. And I sold it for full market price, which was about $240,000. And I sold it in 2023. If you break the numbers down, what I call passive income is basically from the money that I spent, that I put into my home. I was making passive income over that 2.5 years of about $2,000 per month. So just living in your own home, you can build equity and it gives you passive income. So making an additional $2,000 a month just by living in my own home. So compare it to having your own little piggy bank that you live in. So in a market like Jeffersonville, Indiana, we're still seeing steadily home appreciation going up year after year from 4 to 6%, which is pretty great. So that means that you're building that equity just by living in your home. Now, the most important thing to remember is that your first home, it does not have to be your dream home. I always call the first home your starter home, the get you in the game home, And it's really a vehicle to get to that ultimate goal of your dream home if that's your goal. And once you own a home, you have options. You can sell it, you can rent it, or you can use it to buy your next. And that's where the wealth building in real estate starts. Now, how do you actually get started? Honestly, it just starts with a conversation. Even if you're 6 months to a year out, I tell my clients all the time, it's better to talk now than later. Because if you need to do something like build your credit, pay down some debt, or just understand your numbers, we can create a plan. So when you're ready, then you're ready to go. So if you've been thinking about buying, selling, or investing, or you're just curious about real estate overall in Southern Indiana or Louisville, Kentucky, I'd love to talk with you. There's a link in my description to make it really easy to schedule a time where we can sit down and talk or have a phone call. So I look forward to connecting with you all. Thanks so much.